Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through 3 articles, all in regards to the same subject. That subject being Jayland Walker, a 25-year-old black male who was shot 60 times, perhaps even more, by police officers. So quite a few times. And we're going to look through 3 articles in regards to that. Links will be in the description. And if you do value this content, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. So this first article that we'll have a look through will tell you about what happened on Monday, so nearly a week ago from now. And this is a fairly well publicized case, and it runs the risks of being hugely publicized. Why? Well, because he was shot 60 times, perhaps even more. That's a high number of times. The incident is being treated as a homicide. His death is ruled a homicide and is considered a confidential law enforcement investigatory record. Okay, so there's a lot of uproar about this. In fact, there are protests. There's been 4 days of protests in Akron, Ohio. So we'll have a look at this in a few minutes. But there are protests now as of today, tomorrow in America. So it's Sunday for me, Sunday evening for me in Australia. So as of tomorrow for you guys in America, the Ohio Police Department will be releasing the body cam footage of the incident. Now, they're required to release 3 parts of a body cam, something like that, but they're going to release everything that they have, or so they've said. Prior to making that fully public, they will be showing it discreetly to the family prior to making it fully public. But depending on what we see in that body cam footage, and certainly it will be something that I'll be looking at personally, hopefully, if I can, depending on what we see is really going to determine whether or not those protests, which, as I say, have been going for 4 days, whether or not those protests develop into full-blown riots, George Floyd style. So it is quite possible. It is quite possible that this incident provokes multiple riots. But let me start off with this first article, which will tell you a little bit about the incident and the shooting of Jayland Walker, and then we'll move on from there. An unknown number of police officers in Ohio have been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation after a police pursuit ended in the shooting of Jayland Walker on Monday. Police officers from the Akron Police Department attempted to stop a person, later identified as Jayland Walker, for a traffic violation around 12:30 a.m. on Monday, so just after midnight, very early Monday morning. But the driver, Jayland Walker, refused to stop. So the officers attempted to stop a person for a traffic violation. They could have pulled over. They could have cooperated. They could have put their hands on the steering wheel, passed over their driver's license, had a word with the officer or officers, copped a fine. Sir, your traffic light, your rear indicator light is not working. Here's a $200 fine. Make sure you go to court within the next 7 days and pay it. Rightio, officer. Thank you. Have a nice evening. But no, that didn't happen. The driver refused to stop. A police chase ensued, and police said shots were fired at officers from the vehicle during the pursuit. Okay, so to me, this is, I'm going to say, the most important aspect of this whole situation. Police have said that shots were fired at officers from the vehicle. So they were in a police chase, and somebody within the vehicle shot at the officers. If that is true and correct, I have no sympathy for Jayland Walker. None. Does that make me an arsehole? I don't care if it does. If he shot at the officers, I have no sympathy for him. None whatsoever. Could have been shot 600 times. Still wouldn't give a flying monkeys. Sorry, not sorry. Anyhow, after chasing the vehicle for several minutes, the department said the person slowed down and fled from the vehicle whilst it was still moving, which is a danger to anybody else on the road at the time, and likely would cause property damage. A car still moving is going to crash into something or somebody and cause damage, physical or property damage. Okay, so it does seem that only one person was in the vehicle from what we're reading here. After chasing the vehicle for several minutes, the department said the person, singular, slowed down and fled from the vehicle whilst it was still moving, leading officers on a foot pursuit, which ended in a parking lot. Okay, so I want to come back to that point in a moment about a foot pursuit. Okay, here's a quote. Actions by the suspect caused the officers to perceive he posed a deadly threat to them. In response to this threat, officers discharged their firearms, striking the suspect. So this part here is not fully descriptive. It's not describing things in a great deal of detail, but it does state that they feel that the person that was being chased, firstly in a car chase and then in a foot pursuit, they feel that they posed a deadly threat. How could they have done that? How could they have posed a deadly threat? The only way that they could have posed a deadly threat would have been if they pointed a gun or what appeared to be a gun at officers. Yeah, there's no other way that they could have posed a deadly threat. You know, not from a distance. If they had a gun and the officers were close, then that would be a deadly threat. But I'm guessing, could be incorrect, but I'm guessing that the officers would have been a fair distance behind, given that there was a foot pursuit. You know, they're going to be 20 foot, 30 foot, 40 foot behind. So a knife isn't going to pose a deadly threat at such a distance. But in any case, we don't know the full details. And in response to this threat, officers discharged their firearms, striking the suspect. Now, I did read, and perhaps it will be in this article or the next one, that it has been stated that initially the officers fired a taser. So, not a firearm in the first instance, not guns in the first instance. Initially, a taser is what I've read. Jayland Walker died from multiple gunshot wounds to the face, abdomen, and upper legs. The other article that we'll look at will tell us that the defense lawyers are saying that he was shot 60 times or more, totally covered in bullet holes from head to toe, pretty much. City officials on Sunday intend to release body camera footage in connection with the case. So again, if you're waking up this morning and it's Sunday, if you're in Ohio, barricade your windows, because depending on what is in that body cam footage, you may have some riots on your hands. The footage will be shown and reviewed Sunday afternoon and made available to the public following a news conference. The city's police also plans to meet with members of Jayland Walker's family prior to the news conference to allow the family the opportunity to review the footage prior to the media and the public. So that's a good thing. That's a respectful thing. An autopsy hasn't been released. However, it has been confirmed that Walker's death is ruled a homicide and is considered a confidential law enforcement investigatory record. I'll be honest, I don't really understand what is meant by that last part. Confidential law enforcement investigatory record. I'm assuming it's saying that they're going to do an internal investigation. That's kind of my read on that. Don't really know what that means. If you do, please tell me in the comments. But it is interesting to say that it has been ruled a homicide. If the guy if what the police officers have said is accurate, that he fired shots at the officers whilst the vehicle was in the car chase, and indeed that he posed a deadly threat after the foot pursuit came to an end, then why would that be homicide on the part of the officers? That does not make sense to me. Maybe this is a formality. This cannot be right. This doesn't seem healthy to me. Is it a formality that they're saying, hey, look, if there's a death, we're going to jump to charging or considering the subject homicide, when it clearly isn't? These guys are doing their duty. If Jayland Walker posed a deadly threat, then what's the problem with him being shot? No problem as far as I can see. By the way, to clarify, I have not yet seen the body cam footage. So maybe if I were to see that, maybe I would completely retract what I've just said. But to repeat what I've just said, if what the officers have said is accurate, that Jayland Walker posed a deadly threat to the officers, one officer or more, then have at it, boys. Shoot the guy. He's a deadly threat. Take him down. And if that means Jayland Walker got shot multiple times, so be it. Whatever. I don't care. The guy posed a deadly threat. He allegedly, according to the officers, or certainly according to the information within this article, he allegedly shot at officers during the vehicle pursuit. Fuck that guy. He then went on then he jumped out of the car and left the car moving, which is a danger to anybody else that might have been there at the time. Fuck that guy. And then he went on a foot pursuit. Fuck that guy. And then he posed a deadly threat. Fuck that guy. Fuck you, Jayland Walker, if this is true. If it isn't true, apologies. But I'm taking it at this point in time that the information here is true. It seems wrong to me for any of the officers to be considered guilty of homicide, or indeed for the death to be ruled a homicide, if it is just an incident which happened because Jayland Walker was being reckless and posing a danger to others. Okay, so here's a quote from the police chief. Tragically, we are once again faced with a young man with his life before him gone too soon. Every single life is precious, and the loss of any life is absolutely devastating to our entire community. Our prayers are with Jayland Walker's loved ones, and we offer our sincere condolences to all those who knew him. Our thoughts are also with our Akron police officers and their families. Okay, so I'm going to comment on this part, just my ramble, my 2 cents here. It says here, every single life is precious, and the loss of life is absolutely devastating to our entire community. I fully, wholeheartedly disagree with that. How can we say every life is precious? I mean, come on. Look, we can be Christians, but we're not that far gone. We're not that far gone. We do place judgment on others, and we place judgment, let's say, on child abusers. We're going to say that every child abuser's life is precious. No, we're fucking not. We're not going to say that. We do not believe that every single life is precious. Fuck you. No, it isn't. Yeah? And if we're talking about a paedophile, then it's easy to agree. And if we're talking about Jayland Walker, if it's correct to say that he posed a deadly threat to officers, then no, his life is not precious. His life is worthless. Fuck that guy. We do not agree with this. Police Chief Steve Millett, what are you on about? Every single life is precious? What the fuck? I mean, that is just like Christianity on steroids. By the way, I'm a massive fan of Christian values. I'm not attacking Christianity. I'm attacking this line here because I'm not able to articulate exactly what I think, But to me, it's just too loving. Oh, you pose threats to police officers, do you? You pose deadly threats to police officers. Oh, you're such a nice man. No, he fucking isn't. His life is not precious. He did not value his own life, if this is true. If he pulled a gun at officers, which seemingly he did more than once, he doesn't even value his own life. I mean, it's likely, from the description here, my take on it is, he committed suicide by cop. That's all you need to do. Be chased by a number of cops, point a gun at them, and you'll quickly be suicided. I did say I wanted to make a comment in regards to this point here. He led officers on a foot pursuit, which ended in a parking lot. I made an article, let's say 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, give or take about a month ago. I'm thinking it was Los Angeles. No, it wasn't. It was Chicago. It was Chicago, and let's say the police chief, whoever it was, declared that they are going to be training all of their police officers not to have foot pursuits. There's going to be some exceptions to that, but by and large, not to pursue with foot pursuits. So if you have a criminal and they start physically running away, physically with their legs, then the officers are in the process of being trained to let them go. And the reasoning is that foot pursuits are often deadly. So foot pursuits often results in a direct confrontation. So in this case, it seems to me, we've not seen the footage at this point, but it seems to me that Jayland Walker was cornered in a car parking lot, perhaps surrounded or effectively surrounded by multiple officers. So he felt trapped. He felt he had no way out. He turned around and pointed his gun at the officers. That's my take on it. I've not seen the footage, but that's my read on this description here. Could be very inaccurate, but let's say it's not. Let's just go ahead with what I've said there. And so if he did do that, then that, in my mind, he was justifiably shot and a life was taken. And it could have been the case that an officer was shot. Other foot pursuits might end in a tackle. The officer might tackle the assailant to the ground. And if that happens, then there's often a struggle. And during a struggle, a gun may go off. Perhaps the assailant has their own gun. Perhaps the assailant overpowers the officer and takes their gun. So in Chicago, I think I'm right in saying that they are in the process of banning foot pursuits. As crazy as that is. I mean, but I say it's crazy, but there is some reasoning there. So look, we've gone through that article there. We're going to have a look at this article, which is going to give us a little bit more information. He was shot and killed by 8 police officers who reportedly fired 90 rounds. Apparently 90 rounds were fired by 8 officers. So that's what, 12 each? 11, 12 each on average. That's a full magazine each, is it? Hitting the man 60 times. 60 times. That's a lot of times. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of times, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, it is being treated as a homicide. There is, on this article here, which is from the Gateway Pundit, there's a link in the description, there is a critical incident report, which does go through things in a lot of detail. But to be honest, there's a lot more specifics than what I've already read through. But I've given you the overview, so I'm not going to read through that. However, if you are that way inclined, you might want to refer to this link in the description from the Gateway Pundit. And it's the official critical incident report, which gives a very thorough breakdown. So you might want to go look through that. You might want to look through that. But this article also tells us that The city's 4-day Rib, White and Blue Festival has been cancelled due to this incident. So that had been planned. Oh no, there's still going to be fireworks on Monday, but the Rib, White and Blue Festival, which I guess is linked to July the 4th, has been cancelled. So that's a shame. And then we'll just touch on this article very quickly, but it tells us here that Ohio City braces for release of fatal police shooting, the video. So it's telling us that protesters are gathering in Akron, Ohio, prior to the video footage, the body cam footage being released, which, as I say, is due to be released Sunday afternoon, your time in America, Ohio. And these protesters might get a little bit angrier. So you might have one heck of a Sunday night if the public isn't happy with what they see. And I'm going to say this, right? Look, I could watch this video and I might have my interpretation of the video. My point of view is that I feel that officers, each and every day on their duties during their shifts, they put themselves in danger multiple different times. Really, on an ongoing basis, they could be targeted by a gangbanger at any given moment. They go to a premises, they enter a situation, they don't know who's armed, they don't know who's suicidal, they don't know what's going on. They put themselves at risk constantly. And with that and for that, I give a lot of respect to the officers. I recognize the danger that they put themselves in. I recognize that they do that for the benefit of the community. By and large, of course, yes, of course, naturally, they get paid to do it. It's a career for them, but it's a healthy career, a needed career. We require police officers, fact. Don't argue me with that. You know, it's not an argument you can win. We require police officers. Okay, so of course, police officers do make mistakes. Of course, some police officers are corrupt. Some police officers are evil. Not necessarily all the time, not necessarily always. But I'm not trying to say that all officers are perfect, far from it. But I think overall, we have to, especially in America where there is such danger involved, the proliferation of guns, the proliferation of gang activity, I think it's only fair and reasonable to give a lot of credit to police officers in general. And to me, I could perhaps watch the body cam footage, which will be released Sunday afternoon, and I could have my interpretation. As a layman, as a member of the public, I might think, you know what? Those officers were fully justified to do what they did. But other people can watch the same footage and they can, rightly or wrongly, come to a completely different conclusion. They may see the exact same thing that I see, and they may feel that's murder, that's homicide. And again, the first article tells us that the incident is being treated as homicide. So what's my point there? My point is, I think there's a very high chance that a good number of people, members of the public, will genuinely or otherwise claim to feel that a homicide was committed against an unjustified homicide was committed against a 25-year-old black male, Jayland Walker. And with that, I think there's a high chance that a great number of members of your public within Ohio and elsewhere across the country will choose to make this an issue to champion, to further the Black Lives Matter movement, to further object to police actions, to further object to white supremacy and whatever else. They're going to riot. They are going to riot. I don't know 100% sure that they will riot, but I think it's very likely. I think it's very likely. I think the body cam footage is going to show what happened. And part of what happened is this 25-year-old black male, Jayland Walker, was shot 60 plus times. 90 bullets were fired, apparently. And that's going to be shocking in and of itself, regardless as to the reasons why the officers fired, regardless as to the justification as to why the officers fired. The fact is they did fire, seemingly, 90 shots and hit him 60 plus times. And that is going to be shocking. And that, regardless of anything else, will be latched onto, and it will be leveraged. It will be politicized and riotized. It will be used as justification to riot in the name of Black Lives Matter. I think it's a very high chance of happening. Maybe it doesn't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But I think it's pretty likely, to be honest. And that's pretty much all we have. So apparently demonstrators have been gathering for 4 days straight this week. Everyone loves to protest. Roe versus Wade protests. They kind of fizzled out pretty quickly, to be honest with you, in my mind. But, you know, there is this, some people, some organizations, some are funded and encouraged. Some are motivated through political ideology, which is different to the incident or subject that they portray it to be about. I know I'm not articulating particularly well, but that's all I have to say, really. That's pretty much the full details there. Oh no, it tells us here, traffic camera footage obtained by the Beacon Journal shows 10 cruisers following Jayland Walker at one point during the chase. So this was a serious police car chase. A very serious incident. Is that the family? Oh no. Oh yeah, it's the family. It's the family. So look, guys, let's have a look at the body cam footage when it comes out. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. I know I've gone on for way too long. Has it been interesting in any way? Is there anybody still here at the end of this? If they are, please type in the comments wibbly blue da or something like that. You know, I don't know. Wibbly wobbly. Say that, wibbly wobbly, in the chat so that I know that you've heard it all. And you will have won my love and admiration forevermore. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Otherwise, please do like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for your time.